The way the human heart works is quite strange, and following its rhythm has put a lot of people into more trouble than they would like to admit. According to our fantasies, you are supposed to meet a person, fall in love with them, have them love you back, and then you get married and live happily ever after. Well, that is a myth, and we know that in reality, it does not always work out that way. So, it is possible to love someone and they do not love you back. Or someone is in love with you and you do not feel the same way about them. Sad though it might be, we cannot help our emotions or direct our hearts on who to love and who not to love. For this reason, it is a beautiful thing when you love someone and they love you right back. It is like paradise to know that someone feels for you the same way you feel about them. However, some people think it is better when the other person is more in love with you than you are with them. That way, you can be sure that they would never leave you hanging at the end of the day, or you do not get very hurt if things do not work out. It would have been wonderful if both partners in a relationship could love themselves in the same way, with the same amount of energy and effort. But the truth is that the balance is usually tilted to one end. So you might find yourself in a relationship where you give in more and are more invested in the other person than they are in you, or vice versa. The idea here is not to trying to match each other, but recognizing and appreciating someone's love for you. Many people are afraid of putting their emotions out there because they do not want it to be taken for granted or taken advantage of, which is what happens in most cases. What many do not realize is that finding someone who truly loves you is a blessing indeed, and one that should not be taken for granted. We are in a world that is filled with so much superficiality, and where being fake is celebrated over the real thing. Love can be phony, and it usually is phony. People can claim to love you, but it might just be a guise to get something from you. There are so many people out there looking for true love, for that one person who truly loves them, but they keep falling into the hands of insincere people. So why would anyone want to break up or leave someone who loves them very much? As crazy as it sounds, it does happen, and so many people have left relationships where they are loved for something not so good, or even worse. There are several reasons for it. It could be a lack of contentment. Despite the love and care you are receiving, you still want to go out and explore. Somewhere in your heart, you are thinking that there has to be something better than this. For some, they cannot find it in themselves to love that person back in the same way, or they have become attached to someone else. So, they leave someone who truly loves them for one whom they love so much. Quite logical, right? Until they discover that they have just left gold for bronze. For whatever reason it may be, breaking up with someone who loves you is not right on so many levels, and for many reasons too. Besides, it is not even logical, no matter how much you try to validate it with your emotions. And there are a whole lot of repercussions that you might not be able to deal with on the long run. These are 5 reasons you should not leave someone who loves you so much. They love you. Love is something to be treasured. It is what most people spend all their lives searching for and yet do not get. It is the basis of every relationship. If not to be loved, what else are you searching for in a relationship? A person that loves you will be concerned about your well-being, will always try to make you happy. They will make you feel special and meet your needs to the best of their ability. Is this not what everyone wants? Perhaps you are convinced you will find someone better, or you have become trapped in comparing your relationship with someone else's. Do not wait to lose it before you realize what you have. If someone loves you, be thankful for their love rather than throw it in their face by leaving them. You might never find someone who loves you as much. Before you make that decision to leave that person, why not consider the pros and the cons? What are the chances that you will ever find someone like that? Will anyone ever love you the same again? Will they be able to make the sacrifices that person makes? Will you become their priority? Can they overlook your faults and flaws and still love you and accept you the way you are? Will they be willing to go that extra mile for you, encourage you when you are down, and support you when it is hard? Will they forgive you when you have offended them? All these are questions you should ask yourself before jumping off the train. Love goes beyond the feelings we experience at first. Those butterflies will disappear after a while, and that is when you know if a person truly loves you or not. You might think your relationship is boring, or maybe the spark that was once there is nowhere to be found. Don't be deceived by the posts on social media about what people are saying. What many of them portray is a far cry from what they are actually experiencing. Besides, every relationship has its moments, so you do not expect it to be all rosy and smooth. What you need in a relationship is someone who loves you, is faithful and committed, and willing to put in the effort to make the relationship work. Anyone that tells you otherwise is only deceiving you. It is a hard world, and nothing out there is fair. You take whatever you can from life and use it to your advantage. Love is one basic need that people have, and once they find a place where that need is met, they tend to stay there, stick to that spot. So, it would be in your best interest to stick with that person. Make your relationship what you want it to be. If you think it is boring, spark it up. If there are things you do not like or are not comfortable with, you can discuss them with your partner. Since they are in love with you, they would most likely be understanding and dance to your tune. Do not lose what you have for a mere promise or fantasy. You end up leaving the person broken. The world does not revolve around you, what you think, what you feel, or what you want. The root of most of our problems is selfishness. We are constantly thinking about ourselves with no regards as to what the other person might be feeling or going through. For someone who loves you so much and has probably invested a lot into that relationship, how do you think your departure would be to them? Just try switching places. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine someone you love walking out on you, telling you they are no longer interested in the relationship, throwing your love back in your face. Imagine the heartbreak, the sting of rejection, and the devastation that would follow. People react differently to situations like this. Some might find it difficult to believe at first, but then they get used to it, heal after a while and move on. Some remain broken for a long while and find it difficult to trust or love again, while others simply break down and give up on life. Many have been known to commit suicide. You sure do not want to be responsible for any of these. So the best you can do to someone who loves you is to appreciate and reciprocate that love, not walk out on them. Integrity. It is one thing for someone to love you and another thing for you to love them back. The problem is we usually cannot control the direction of our heart. However, you can control your actions. If you cannot find it in your heart to love a person, the best thing would be to tell them directly and not raise their hopes. However, if you agreed to be in a relationship with someone, you should be responsible enough to stick to that person, especially in the case where you have no concrete reason for bailing out. When you leave, it implies that you are unfaithful. It is a test of your love. Even in the best relationships, there will always be hitches. These periods will test the strength and level of commitment of the parties involved in the relationship. That person might be going through certain things at that very moment, but it should not matter as long as love is present. It is at these critical moments that you should be there for them, stand by them, and make them feel your support. If you bail out on them, it just signifies how weak and fickle your emotions are, and that you probably never loved that person.